Welcome in to another back room. It's been a little bit since we've done a back room. We've been busy getting everything going for the 2023 football season, which is now officially underway. John Lunsford, Scott Forrester, Tyler Johns. Since the last time I guess we spoke, Tyler, officially number 11?
Yep.
11?
Oh, yeah.
Officially number 11.
Yeah, I think the last backroom episode, I was still an intern.
Yeah, so
Hey, welcome aboard, Tyler.
officially number 11. Everybody,
Well,
round
TJ.
of applause. And then Sean Rockstar Henniger over there.
Yeah.
All right, so we're getting into the football season. We're getting ready to all cheer our teams on. I'm sure mostly Alabama and Auburn people consuming this, but here in SEC country, we kind of thought, hey, we'll give a look into how we became fans of our teams, because you've heard a lot about how Dunaway, Lance, and Brown all got into their teams, but like, for instance, you know, the story behind why Reed, our boss, is a Giants fan. He told us the other day the whole reason is because he saw a Lawrence Taylor Giants jersey and it said Taylor on the back. So it was like a personalized jersey for him. So he became a Giants fan, and he's kind of stuck with it ever since. So
He's a big Indians fan because of Jake Taylor on Major League.
Also a big Dodgers fan.
Guardians, my bad. Guardians.
Yeah, Guardians. Be right. But no, just, you know, there's little stories like that. It's always fascinating to see how people became fans of their teams. So I figured we'd go around and talk about, we're all fans of various and assorted teams. So I'll start with Rocky. How did you become a fan of your various and assorted teams, as Lance walks in the room right now?
The Detroit Lions came to me. I had a Sega Genesis 32-bit, and it was like 1991. Joe Montana came out with a game called Joe Montana Sports Talk Football. And that's the guy talks like this. It's beginning to snow. It's a beautiful day here at the Super Bowl. And I picked the Detroit Lions because I remember I loved Barry Sanders, and I would play him and Herman Moore, and I would play two plays. I had one pass play and one running play. And the second edition of Sports Talk Football, they introduced the Speed Burst. And the second was when he went to the Kansas City Chiefs. And Sports Talk Football 93 or 94 was amazing because it had, once you started the run, it did the extreme close-up, which was a zoom in of your player. And you had one speed burst, which is like a real quick speed burst, and Barry Sanders would just dominate. And so for some reason, I love the Detroit Lions, and stuck with them. And then in the 80s, I was a huge Detroit Pistons fan. I love the Bad Boys. Isaiah Thomas was my favorite player because he was an amazing ball handler. And Joe Dumars was a great shooter. And you got Dennis Rodman, Bill Laimbeer. Loved them. And so for some reason, both my Detroit Lions and the Pistons, and I've never in my life been to the state of Michigan. I don't care about the Detroit Tigers. I don't watch baseball. I don't care about the Red Wings. I don't watch hockey. But for some reason, I picked the Lions and the Pistons, and all between the span of like 88 to 91. I was a huge. Now, I could not tell you one player on the Pistons roster. Does Blake Griffin still play with them? I remember last time I saw that he was on the roster.
I don't think so.
Don't think
Does
so.
Rip Hamilton still play for him?
I don't think
I
so.
don't think so. I think
don't think
Ben
he
Wallace is out of the league.
One of the coolest thing was when they had that awful Pistons logo they changed when Jerry Stackhouse was on the team. It was Ben Wallace and Jerry Stackhouse, and they called it Ben and Jerry's. I thought that was really cool. And then with Rip Hamilton and Chauncey Billups when they won the championship, that is the last time I paid attention to the Detroit Pistons or the NBA for that matter. And
Didn't they go teal for a little bit?
they did. They changed the logo and they changed the uniform colors, and it was awful. And they finally went back to the old school blue-red.
Both teams very good right now also, by the way.
The Lions are good.
The Lions are actually getting better,
The
but they
Pistons have been bad
the worst
for-
team in the league for a while.
Like 20 years, that's fine, since Chauncey and all them. So that's how people ask me this all the time. I do not have a college football team. I don't pull for Alabama. I don't pull for Auburn. I don't pull for this one to lose. I don't pull for this one to lose. After being in sports radio for so long and starting my career answering phones, I've heard the worst of both fan bases where it just makes me like, I don't care anymore. I pull for a good game. I don't bet. I don't gamble or anything. So I just want something to watch that's a good game. I don't want to see an Alabama blowout. I don't want to see an Auburn blowout. So I don't care if either team loses or wins. So also on the Lions, I'm not a Lance. I don't get beat up if they don't win or whatever. I try to watch as much as I can, but I am a fair weather fan at best. I'm not going to be in here with a bunch of Lions gear if they're in the Super Bowl saying, I told you guys so. I'm not going to be that guy. So that's the result of my fandom. And Pearl Jam started their tour last night. Tyler, to you.
Tyler.
So I went to Auburn, but I'm not really an Auburn fan. I grew up a massive Alabama fan, going to games all the way
Get him,
back,
Scott.
all the way back in the Mike Shula days, up to when Saban first got there, and throughout that. But these days, I don't really watch much.
Me neither. We should work on a sports show.
Right. And then as far as soccer goes, I used to play that, but I don't really follow any one particular team. I kind of just turn it on, and if there's a good game going, I'll watch it. But for hockey, I am a New York Islanders fan.
It's random.
Yeah, very random. So what happened was I was playing soccer, and I ended up having to have nose surgery for things completely unrelated to soccer. And while I was recovering from my surgery, I was laying in bed with the Stanley Cup on, and the Islanders were playing, and I really liked their fourth line. It was Casey Cizikas, Cal Clutterbuck,
Yeah, Clutterbuck.
and Matt Martin, and they were just incredibly physical. They would just immediately wall check people, and seemed like they weren't even going for the puck half the time. And then I just decided that was going to be my team.
So if you were having that nose surgery and the Avalanche were playing that night, do you think you would have picked them? Like, does it all depend on that night? Who was on the TV that night? Like, between the Stanley Cup matchup?
I mean, it could have depended on who was on the TV
Or the
that
Mighty
night.
Ducks?
It could have been, but I also just really liked the way they played defense as well, because I played indoor soccer when I was still playing soccer year-round, and a lot of the movement in hockey is similar to how you would possess the ball in indoor soccer.
By the way, I was a soccer player in high school, and the last time I played competitive soccer was when I was probably like 30 years old, and we did an indoor league, which is 55,000 times faster than regular, and I blocked a shot with my face, and I shut it down. I've never been... That's one of the things where you feel like you're too old to play the sport anymore, because I almost threw up, and I was like, this is too fast, and everybody here is way more athletic than me, so that was the last time I played indoor soccer.
Do you have a soccer team? Like, do you
No.
watch Premier League and like one team better than the other?
MLS.
I don't. MLS, I watch as much as I can, but I don't pull for anybody.
Other than the Legion, of course, and USL when they play MLS teams.
I don't know if they haven't really said this lately about the U.S. women's team. They're really good, but they're kind of cocky, and I don't think a lot of the world likes the U.S. women's team, although they're much better than the men's team right now.
Yes.
But I will watch their games, and I will watch the men's team's games, but I really don't follow Premier League, anything like that. I'm not a Tottenham Hotspurs fan like Dunaway.
By the way, if you ever want to bet on any of our teams here, this is brought to you by MyBookie. Use promo code NEXTROUND, and that's where I play all my stuff when it comes to soccer. I remember when the Legion played MLS teams, we kept looking at those lines, and you could have made some good money on that. So head to mybookie.ag and use promo code NEXTROUND. Scott,
Pretty smooth segue into my
I'm not
bookie
as
there.
good. I'm
That's,
not good like Jim is at this kind
That
of
was
stuff.
pretty
but,
clean.
Yeah.
So, you know, being an Alabamian, you kind of have to choose at birth whether you're an Auburn or Alabama fan. I'm an Auburn fan. Yeah.
It goes. It fits.
So just, you know, from birth, I've been a diehard Auburn fan, Auburn grad, married an Auburn grad. I have two little girls who are Auburn fans. That's how we roll as far as college goes. My pro allegiances, a lot of it is centered around cool looking gear. The White Sox, as soon as they switched to, I think it was 91, 92, I think, when they went to the black look.
With Bo Jackson.
Yeah. That kind of won me over, and also the Barons, the Birmingham Barons being local. Frank Thomas, Auburn guy, and White Sox.
Bo Jackson.
Bo Jackson, yes.
Jordan.
Yes. Yeah, and Jordan. Great baseball player there.
Very good.
Yes.
Yeah. The Blackhawks too. Coolest looking gear in the NHL. Clearly.
Gross.
Yeah. So love the Blackhawks.
That's still.
I'll get to mine in a second.
They don't exist anymore.
Oh, okay. Because they're too good.
Those are the only two Chicago teams I really care about.
But do you hate the Cubs? Is it?
Oh
part of the
yeah,
territory?
I can't stand the Cubs.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about the Falcons?
Yeah, the Falcons.
The local thing?
Yeah. See, but kind of, because that didn't really work with the Braves. Sorry, Braves fans.
Braves are the worst, by the way.
I do not like the Braves. Yeah, Falcons probably going back to the cool gear.
Red helmets.
Yeah, red helmets.
Yeah.
Yeah, the throwbacks are the way to go there. Yeah.
Basketball. Bulls.
Back in the day, I was a big Jordan fan, so I loved the Bulls. Now I just do not care about the NBA at all.
I'm with you. I mean, I loved watching Jordan back in the day. I mean, I guess we grew, not Tyler so much, but the rest of us grew up around Jordan and that
Yep.
domination that it was easy to fall in love and watch that, but not necessarily be like a fan. Everybody was falling in love and watching that, whether you're a Bulls fan or not. But yeah, basketball.
And I loved the animosity that there seemed to be between certain teams
Yeah.
back then too. Before all the jersey swapping and
Yeah.
all
Bulls
that
and
kind of
Knicks were
stuff.
always a great series
Yeah.
to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jordan going at it with John Starks and all that stuff. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, basketball's really never been my thing either. I'm the opposite of Scott in a lot of ways when it comes to sports. Grew up an Alabama fan. My dad went to Alabama. I went to Alabama, among other schools, including Auburn. But yeah, I just been an Alabama fan since birth, and I've stayed that way ever since. I hate the Blackhawks.
The team.
The team.
The team.
The Chicago Blackhawks, because they're in the same division as the Nashville Predators, rival. They play each other. Really, I've hated the Blackhawks a lot ever since the year that the Preds made it to the Stanley Cup, because the first round that year they played the Blackhawks, who were the number one team. I believe won the President's Trophy that year, but they beat them 4-0. They swept them. I think Chicago only scored one goal in the entire series, but it was such a it's going to be a cakewalk for Chicago kind of series. And then the Preds, who were the last team to barely get in, ended up just beating the hell out of them. And it was so great to watch. And I actually have a couple of friends that are Blackhawks fans.
Congrats on winning the league that year.
Yeah.
Did that happen, right?
We hung a banner for winning the Western Conference. But yeah. Anyway, that was fun. I had other people who were Blackhawks fans who I'd love to trash and everything like that. You just happen to be caught in the crossfire now of that.
Hey, we're coming back. Connor Bedard.
Yeah.
Oh,
Poor-
Big B.
We're coming. We're
guy.
coming.
Poor guy, number one pick, went to Chicago for a reason this year. But anyway,
Hater.
so I really got into Nashville fandom because of the Titans. So Titans and Preds were about the same time. Preds were new. Titans obviously moved from Houston with the Oilers. And I did like the look of the Oilers when I was younger, because I was just getting into playing football, youth league football and stuff when that happened. So I was really beginning to watch players, how I wanted to formulate my game. Little did I know I'd become an offensive lineman and basically be there for life. But at first it's I want to be a running back. I want to be a quarterback. The skill positions everybody wants to play, until you realize you're too fat to play them. And I love Steve McNair. I loved Eddie George. I loved watching those two guys play.
Del Greco.
Aldo Greco is one that every time I mention those two, my wife is like, don't forget Aldo Greco. Be honest, I didn't know who Aldo Greco was before I became a fan of the team, and obviously he was a kicker for him.
Auburn legend.
Auburn legend. But, yeah, I like those players. But then the thing is, once Steve McNair went to Baltimore, I started really paying attention to Baltimore, even more than the Titans. And that was when I kind of started falling off with the Titans. They got Vince Young. I was excited. Ended up being a flop. Got Jake Locker. I was excited. Ended up being a flop. All these guys I watched in college, obviously being more of a college fan, that they would go to the Titans and absolutely suck. And that just says a lot about the Titans.
Kerry Collins.
Yeah. Hasselbeck was there. I'm trying to even remember who was there before Tannehill now. I'm starting to blank. But anyway, it's been awful with the Titans ever since. But I started following actually Baltimore. I've never really been a Baltimore fan, but I like Steve McNair went there, obviously. Ozzie being the GM for a long time with Alabama ties. Orlando McClain played there. Terrence Cody played there. There were a lot of Alabama players who went to go play there. that I kind of started watching them. I still said I was a Titans fan, but it was kind of whatever. But now it's been kind of the funny thing to say I hate the Titans and completely move on, especially with Will Levis there now. So I switched to the 49ers, and it's like, how the hell did you get to the 49ers? I've actually seen the 49ers more in person than any other team because I've seen the Titans twice, and both times they happen to play the San Francisco 49ers, which is the most random matchup because it's AFC, NFC, West Coast, and kind of sort of East Coast. And I've just happened to see them play the 49ers twice. And then I actually went to a 49ers-Rams game on my honeymoon at Levi Stadium when it was like brand new, and I splurged on like club level tickets for my wife and I on our honeymoon and everything, and it was like one of the greatest sports experiences I've ever had. It was a divisional game winner that was going to win the division. The 49ers kicked a field goal to win the division at the end, so it was like super fun experience. And
Was Garoppolo hurt?
Garoppolo did play in that game. This was when he first was there. But I kind of sort of started paying attention to the 49ers, I guess, when they played the Ravens in the Super Bowl that year with Harbaugh.
The Harbaugh Bowl.
Yeah, and, I kind of liked watching Alex Smith a little bit. I know Kaepernick took over that year and was the one that took him to the Super Bowl, but I kind of like watching Alex Smith. And then last year, I really started watching him because I like D'Amico Ryans. I really like D'Amico Ryans, and obviously he's a defensive coordinator now with Houston, which is why I consider Houston as my new team also. But if they had gotten Bryce Young, I would have gone Houston because I could have had Alabama coach and Alabama quarterback. But C.J. Stroud, I don't like, so I didn't want to be a fan of that team. Plus, they got to play the Titans every year, and that division is just awful.
And Nico Collins, Clay Chalk.
Nico Collins, Clay Chalville, who did not go to Alabama like he should have. But anyways, that's kind of why I'm a 49ers fan, mostly because I like the experience. They do have some talented players. Christian McCaffrey will be good for a game before he gets hurt. But then the Preds, I kind of jumped on because of the Titans. I jumped on them, but I was a big Thrashers fan when they first started because they both started around the same time. And the Atlanta Thrashers technically still exist. They moved it to Winnipeg and took over as the Jets. So technically,
That's a shitty commute.
it was moving to Winnipeg so they could get the Jets back. But I loved Dustin Byfuglien played for the Blackhawks, and they won their Stanley Cup, went to the Thrashers for a hot second before they moved to Winnipeg. I love watching him. And I want to say Evander Kane started with the Thrashers. But there are a couple of players I remember going to games just because it's in Atlanta, you're over there. It's like, yeah, let's go to the Thrashers game. That was fun, and I love their jerseys. I feel like people hate their jerseys, but I love their jerseys. It kind of had the Titans, Oilers, light blue, navy. Their logo was kind of gross, but I like the overall jersey. But then when they moved, I was all in on the Preds at that point. And
What's the guy on the Thrashers with the beard? They all have beards.
Yes.
oh, that was a joke. I was like,
with the
I was like,
Russian
I
name.
don't know. It's just easy to say
Yeah.
Ovechkin.
Who
every
was the
time.
white guy on the Sabres?
Yeah. The thing is, I didn't really, I like going to hockey games because I love going to like Bulls games back in the day when they were at the BJCC and everything. But so it was fun to go for the fights. It was fun to go for just kind of the fast-paced action. It's like fast soccer kind of to me. But like, I didn't really super get into hockey until I started playing the NHL video game series. And the first one I really got into was 2010. And my friends kind of taught me the intricacies of the game, and I've really loved it ever since then. But, so I spent kind of 10 years. I was like, I like going to hockey games, but I'm not a super huge fan with both the Preds and the Thrashers, but somewhat followed them. But I've been a lot bigger fan since then. But anyway, so Preds, 49ers, and Alabama. I can't do basketball. But baseball's the worst for me. I just cannot get into baseball.
No.
I don't know why. I love it from a statistical standpoint, and I like playing like fantasy baseball and just looking at the numbers and never watching a game, which I guess is weird. I don't know if that's weird or not, but like I love fantasy baseball. Hate baseball.
I grew up playing baseball, so that was.
I think the other thing is I got scarred as a kid. I spent my entire first year of like real pitching, like after pitching machine, I went over the entire year. I would go 0-3, 0-4 every single game. I literally did not get a hit. The only time I made contact was I hit a foul ball once.
The elation when you hit that
I
ball.
played for the Mariners. I thought it was going to go. It was a deep hit too, but it went to the left. But I played for the Mariners for Homewoods Youth League or Homewoods Park League or whatever, and I was awful. Didn't play after that. Hated baseball ever since.
Back to the 49ers. I'm curious to see how our next Madden season is going to play out. with Brock Purdy as your quarterback.
It's the one thing I don't like is that I don't have a mobile quarterback.
That's the one thing I was
He's going to put in McCaffrey as the quarterback. That's what he's going to do.
I was positive he was going to go for a team that was going to be the Eagles, and he was going to run Jalen everywhere.
So here's the thing about the Eagles. I would have 1,000% been an Eagles fan, and I still will watch the Eagles and support the players on the Eagles, like the Alabama players. But it's such a bandwagon move right now to do that. If it was a year ago, nobody would have cared. But I hate being labeled as a bandwagon person. And so it's like I'm not jumping on the bandwagon of the Eagles just because – I mean, Jalen Hurts is one of my favorite players of all time, regardless of sport, team, affiliation, anything. Obviously, like Devontae Smith. I love A.J. Brown because he played for the Titans for a long time, and they got rid of him in a stupid-ass trade. There's so many players I like on that team, but I don't want to be a bandwagon person, so I don't do it.
The Bears were actually my top choice for where he was going to end up because
I don't like Justin Fields either.
Because I knew he didn't want to be labeled as a front runner, going with the Eagles, but he'd also have just Justin Fields who'd.
It was really between the 49ers, Texans, because of D'Amico, but definitely had they taken Bryce, and then Carolina if they got Bryce. But I also didn't want to do so many people, and I don't know if you did this, even being a Falcons fan in the same division, but my wife did this. So many people, when Cam went to Carolina, were like, oh my God, I'm the world's biggest Carolina fan. I was like, if Cam Newton didn't exist, you wouldn't care anything about it.
Yep.
And I wasn't about to be that with Bryce Young. So I just completely jumped off because I probably couldn't name another player on the Panthers right
I
now.
was always a DeLome guy.
Best quarterback to never win a Super Bowl? Yeah.
No, when Cam went to the Panthers, I was rooting against Cam and go Falcons.
I am very much more of I'm just going to follow the players. Like, I hope Jalen wins every Super Bowl and every MVP from now on, even if it's beating my beloved 49ers in the playoffs. But I really just kind of watch it for that. The whole 49ers thing is more of a ploy to have, number one, a new team in Madden, because we now have another Titans person to play the Titans moving forward, and just to switch teams to piss people off, to be like, you weren't even a real Titans fan to begin with. I don't care. I like Derrick Henry. That was about it when it came to the Titans. So,
See, that's why I thought you were going Eagles.
I mean, that's why I wanted to go Eagles. I just didn't want to be the bandwagon person to do that. But, yeah. So that's my NFL fandom. Don't do basketball. Don't do soccer. I did a quiz one time for soccer that was like, fill out this quiz based on your affiliations in college football, and we'll assign you a team. And so everything was very Alabama heavy, obviously. And it's like, well, you should be a Tottenham Hotspur fan.
Hell yeah.
And then, like, the next day is when I found out Jim randomly mentioning, like, oh, my team, Tottenham, did something.
Yep.
I dropped it at that point. I don't want to be a fan of the same team as Jim.
Because he can kill you with knowledge. He can kill you with knowledge. You don't even
Yeah.
like Brown. If you're a fan, you got to know all 11 starters.
Yeah. You think I'm not a super fan of the 49ers right now?
Yeah.
Jim and Tottenham's the same way. I had to figure out a way to kind of throw a dig at Jim in there. But I also want to be a fan of West Ham because it had the name Ham in it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know if
They
they're
are
good.
not good at all.
They're not very good. They're the bad guys in Ted Lasso, and really good in Ted Lasso.
What about the damn
but
Wrexham thing?
they're so low, it's hard to be a fan. It's like being a fan of like a rookie league baseball team here or something. That's how low they are. But anyway, that's our team affiliations. I've talked for too long.
It's okay.
Brought to you by MyBookie. Use code NEXTROUND for new accounts there to get a sign-on bonus. And, next space round, use that code. Go to mybookie.ag, play everything. It's football time. We're going to cheer for all of our teams now. Really, really hard. I'm the biggest 49ers fan. Falcons, Saints. You never explained Saints.
Oh, yeah, I never explained the Saints. I'll do that real quick. So growing up an Alabama fan, they got Mark Ingram, and then Alvin Kamara went there later on. And then I also love the city of New Orleans. So that's my team,
Boom.
NFL.
Everybody tells me I can't cheer for Jalen. You can't cheer for Alvin Kamara as an Alabama fan because, he went to Tennessee. Everybody yells about, oh, no, Jalen's an Oklahoma person. Jalen's an Alabama person. But anyway, so we start with Madden League. 49ers, Falcons, Saints, Lions. Lions are the favorite this year.
Not in the Madden League.
All right, that's it. Bye.
Have a good night.